Hi everybody, I'm Girl Writes What, and I just wanted to do a video in response to all of the disavowals and the insistence that has shown up. All of these feminists who have come into my comment threads merely to holler, "Not all feminists are like that." Um, they accuse me of misinterpreting what feminism is all about. I've heard several claims that feminism is about equality, full stop, that it isn't man-hating, that it really isn't like that. That there are some feminists who are like, but not all feminists. That the mainstream of feminism is certainly not like that, and that I'm painting the movement with too broad a brush. And I just wanted to share some handy-dandy doozies of quotes from feminists past and present to uh, to try and explain why I paint feminists with that broad brush. So here goes. British MP and feminist Harriet Harman. It cannot be assumed that men are bound to be an asset to family life, or that the presence of fathers in families is necessarily a means to social cohesion. Okay, there's a couple things wrong with that. I'm not sure if everybody can see them all, so I will just take a little moment here and deconstruct it. How many experts and pundits blamed the London riots on fatherlessness and blamed fathers for not stepping up in their kids' lives? It's really ironic that this occurred the very same year family courts in the UK have been instructed to remove a presumption of shared custody and equal access for fathers from its mandate. But the thing that really bothers me about her comment is that it completely disregards a father's humanity. If he's not useful, if he's not a necessity, if he's not of benefit to the family, then we can just throw him away. And that again, that's just male disposability right there. You're useful, we'll keep you around. You're not, out you go. And it doesn't really matter how you feel about it, because we don't care how you feel about it. Your suffering means nothing. Okay, here's another one. Supreme Court Judge Baroness Hale, also of the UK, in her judicial order that judges must now apply lenient sentencing to female criminals. It is now well recognized that a misplaced conception of equality has resulted in some very unequal treatment for women and girls. Really? Women and girls do better in school. They're graduating all levels of education at higher rates than men and boys. They're eligible for education funding. Men and boys are not. They have greater access to social programs designed to mitigate economic disadvantage. They are the minority of the homeless and the suicidal. But Judge Hale feels that they deserve a formal and institutionalized sentencing discount on top of the up to 4/5 informal sentencing discount they already receive through pervasive social gender bias. Feminist Hillary Clinton, and this has to be one of my favorites. Women have always been the primary victims of war. Women lose their husbands, their fathers, their sons in combat. So let's think about that one for a second. Men aren't the primary victims of their own deaths. The women who have to go on without them are. Moving on. Here's another good one. Feminist Catherine Commons claims men can gain from the experience of being unjustly accused of rape. She says, "They have a lot of pain, but it is not a pain that I would necessarily have spared them. I think it ideally initiates a process of self-exploration. How do I see women? If I didn't violate her, could I have? Do I have the potential to do to her what they said I did? Those are good questions." Wow. Ideally. I suppose, in Catherine Common's opinion, the men who are convicted of rape based on a woman's lie, only to suffer a hideous risk of being raped themselves while incarcerated, the men who commit suicide based on a woman's lie, the men who lose their jobs and families based on a woman's lie, the men who are kicked out of university based on a woman's lie, and the men who are beaten, harassed, and even murdered based on a woman's lie should ideally be grateful for the experience of being falsely accused, because it ideally will favorably affect the way they see and treat women in the future. If they get to have a future. Okay, here's a handful of lovely quotes from feminist Robin Morgan, editor of Ms. magazine. Quote, "I feel that man-hating is an honorable and viable political act, that the oppressed have a right to class hatred against the class that is oppressing them." Well, that certainly clears that up. But wait, there's more. "Let's put one lie to rest for all time. The lie that men are oppressed too by sexism. The lie that there can be such a thing as men's liberation groups." Okay. How about this one? "We can't destroy the inequalities between men and women until we destroy marriage." Or this one. "I claim that rape exists anytime sexual intercourse occurs when it has not been initiated by the woman out of her own genuine affection and desire." Huh. You know, considering how she thinks man-hating is a viable and justifiable act, one wonders where that affection and desire is supposed to come from. Here are some other gems from feminists past and present. An unnamed suffragette interviewed by the New York Times with respect to the sinking of the Titanic claimed that women, though saved through the noble sacrifice of men, were in the equally hard position of having to see the ship go down. Yeah. Here's a good one by Andrea Dworkin. "I want to see a man beaten to a bloody pulp with a high heel shoved in his mouth, like an apple in the mouth of a pig." Or, she was full of some doozies, too. "Marriage as an institution developed from rape as a practice." Or, how about this? "Heterosexual intercourse is the pure, formalized expression of contempt for women's bodies." Oh, here's some more rapey stuff. "Rape is nothing more or less than a conscious process of intimidation by which all men keep all women in a state of fear." Susan Brown Miller, author of Against Our Will. How about this one from Sheila Jeffries? "When a woman reaches orgasm with a man, she is only collaborating with the patriarchal system, eroticizing her own oppression." Or this one from Catherine McKinnon. "Politically, I call it rape whenever a woman has sex and feels violated." Or another one from her. "In a patriarchal society, all heterosexual intercourse is rape because women as a group are not strong enough to give meaningful consent." I don't know whether I find that attitude more disgusting for its misandry or for its misogyny. It's... Sharon Stone. The more famous and powerful I get, the more power I have to hurt men." That seems very noble. Jodie Foster. 95% of women's experiences are about being a victim." Sally Miller Gerhardt. "The proportion of men must be reduced and maintained at approximately 10% of the human race." Marilyn French. "The media treats male assaults on women like rape, beating, and murder of wives and female lovers, or male incest with children, as individual aberrations, obscuring the fact that all male violence toward women is part of a concerted campaign." Okay. Feminist and former U.S. Senator Barbara Jordan. "I believe that women have a capacity for understanding and compassion which men structurally does not have it because he cannot have it. He's just incapable of it. Wow. Doesn't that sound sexist? Claim women aren't as mathy as men at the extreme high end of ability, and you'll be put in the stocks and pelted with rotten tomatoes. But you can be a U.S. senator and claim that men are biologically incapable of compassion. It's awesome. But Valerie Solanas did her one better. The male is a biological accident. The Y male gene is an incomplete X female gene. That is, it has an incomplete set of chromosomes. In other words, the male is an incomplete female, a walking abortion, aborted at the gene stage. To be male is to be deficient, emotionally limited. Maleness is a deficiency disease, and males are emotional cripples. I'm really not sure what's more disturbing here, her bigotry against men or her miseducation of thousands of feminists, that genes contain chromosomes, rather than the other way around. Of course, feminists have defended her manifesto as just an innocuous bit of satire. When she went on to shoot a man just because, why, I guess that was just all in good fun, too. I can't believe Andy Warhol didn't have the good grace to laugh over that. What a killjoy. And let's not forget Scum Having Fun, whose performance arts piece, inspired by Solanas and linked in the low bar, I can't quote, but who act out on film the cold-blooded, premeditated murder of an innocent man, and then call on other women to do your part. Sounds entirely suited to the utopia of gender equality that is Sweden. In fact, they're so concerned with equality there, a play based on the Scum Manifesto is performed by these very young ladies for school children. Just what I want my kids to be doing at recess. How about this one? As long as some men use physical force to subjugate females, all men need not. The knowledge that some men do suffices to threaten all women. He can beat or kill the woman he claims to love, he can rape women, he can sexually molest his daughters. The vast majority of men in the world do one or more of the above. Marilyn French. Mary Daly, former professor at Boston College. If life is to survive on this planet, there must be a decontamination of the earth. I think this will be accompanied by an evolutionary process that will result in a drastic reduction of the population of males. How about some new feminist voices? Amanda Marcotte, regarding the Duke Lacrosse false rape accusation. I've been sort of casually listening to CNN blaring throughout the waiting room, and good fucking God, is that channel pure evil. For a while I had to listen to how the poor dear lacrosse players at Duke are being persecuted just because they held someone down and fucked her against her will. Not rape, of course, because the charges have been thrown out. Can't a few white boys sexually assault a black woman anymore without people getting all wound up about it? So unfair. Yeah, so unfair that some innocent men got put through a ringer by a woman whose own father didn't believe her, who then went on to commit arson and assault and eventually murder her boyfriend before somebody finally intervened. Because the Duke lacrosse players were obviously guilty, because women never lie about rape or abuse. How about this statement by a University of Maine feminist administrator who was sued? All men are good for is fucking and running over with a truck. Feminist Amanda Marcotte, again, in her 2008 book, It's a Jungle Out There. MRAs deny, in turn, that domestic violence is common, and when they will admit it's common, they'll claim women do it just as much. The evidence that women are just as bad comes from the theory that if a guy bruises his knuckles on your face, you've both sustained a domestic violence injury. Some 25 years after those first studies that showed gender symmetry in domestic violence perpetration, increasing data on significant male rates of injury, and homicide, and she's still parroting that tired old cliche? Men as a group tend to be abusive, either verbally, sexually, or emotionally. There are always exceptions, but they are few and far between. I'm married to one of them. As an aside, he sounds like a lucky guy. There are different levels of violence and abuse, and individual men buy into this system by varying degrees, but the male power structure always remains intact. Message on Femisa, responding to a request for arguments that men are unnecessary for a child to grow into mature adulthood. Sheila Cronin. Since marriage constitutes slavery for women, it is clear that the women's movement must concentrate on attacking this institution. Freedom for women cannot be won without the abolition of marriage. In a letter signed Liberated Women to the Baronia Herald Sun in Melbourne, Australia in 1996, who cares how men feel or what they do or whether they suffer? They've had over 2,000 years to dominate and made a complete hash of it. Now it's our turn. My only comment to men is, if you don't like it, bad luck. And if you get in my way, I'll run you down. This is a good one. Professor Joyce Treblecott of Washington University. If the classroom situation is very heteropatriarchal, a large beginning class of 50 to 60 students with, say, few feminists, I am likely to define my task as largely one of recruitment, of persuading students that women are oppressed. Michigan now opposes joint custody for many reasons. This is a quote from one of their action alerts. It is unworkable for uncooperative parents. It is dangerous for women and their children who are trying to leave or have left violent husbands and fathers. It ignores the diverse, complicated needs of divorced families, and it is likely to have serious, unintended consequences on child support. Odd how they have no stated concern for men and their children who are trying to leave abusive wives or mothers, let alone for fathers who are not abusers and their kids, but they did mention that there'd probably be less money changing hands. Setting aside the fact that I really don't think that the public would have any ability to tolerate any of these quotes ever being said in regard to women without a huge uproar. I really don't see a whole lot of difference between the extremity of female self-interest evident in Robin Morgan's assertion that men have never been oppressed by sexism, and in the extremity of outwardly projected hate in Marilyn French's claim that the vast majority of men in the world have beaten or killed their wives, molested their daughters, or raped a woman. Both of these seem to stem from a complete inability to acknowledge, fully or otherwise, men's humanity. Men are a problem. Men are useful. Men are the enemy. Men are rapists. Men are killers. Men are violent. Men serve no good purpose. Men are oppressors. Men are inconvenient. Men are annoying. Men are privileged. Men are scum. Men are unemotional. Men are too aggressive. Men are exploitive. Men are sometimes nice. All of it with respect to women. This is the narrative of feminism. Always, always the masculine as it either serves or harms the feminine. And no matter how many feminists I meet, I have yet to receive an impression that the first consideration of that feminist is a man's humanity, separate from female expectation, criticism, or self-interest. Feminism took it upon itself to redefine the gender dynamic of the globe and women's place in society, and their attitude toward men, right from the get-go, has been one of either help, make it happen, or get out of the way. There was never any need on the part of even early feminists to consider the male position in society as it affects males. And you guys can Nafalt all over my comment thread until it looks like a bomb went off. But until you can show me a single lobby effort on the part of feminists that has ever elevated men in an area where they are marginalized, where that elevation did not only not benefit women, but arguably harm them, then I really have to conclude that you are all like that. Feminism is about self-interest on the part of women. It is not about equality. If you were about equality, full stop, end of sentence, period, then you'd call yourself something else. You'd call yourself an egalitarian, or an equalist, or a humanist. And frankly, I have yet to see a feminist prove me wrong. And that's really just all I have to say about that. So I'm just gonna sign off now, and you guys can all start Nafalting in my comment thread, I'm sure that this is going to be the trigger that that really sets it off. So do your worst. Have at you. And for the rest of you, I'll see y'all later.